This week, President-elect Joe Biden unveiled a $1.9 trillion stimulus plan aimed at combating the pandemic and spurring economic recovery. A cornerstone of the plan is to provide $1,400 in direct payments.
Biden wants to, in his new plan, send another $1,400 in direct payments to people who received them under the last plan. So between the $600 stimulus checks that went out in the last bill, Biden wants to add another $1,400 on top of that. So people will get a total of $2,000 in direct payments from the federal government.
The COVID-19 vaccine is another key priority in this plan, with $20 billion set aside to speed up distribution and make the shot free for everyone in the country. Biden also wants to spend $50 billion on testing and $10 billion on manufacturing pandemic supplies in the United States. He also has made a point of acknowledging the virus has hit certain communities of color disproportionately to the rest of the country and wants to increase funding for underserved areas. There will be $130 billion set aside to help the majority of K-8 schools reopen within the first 100 days of Biden's administration. $190 billion will be allocated to loans and grants for struggling small businesses.
As part of the plan, Biden also wants to send another $350 billion to state and local governments. And that's a big deal because in the last bill, that provision was left out completely because of objections from Republicans, even though Democrats have been saying for months and months that it's so essential to, make sure government workers stay employed, to let states have enough money and resources to be able to distribute vaccines. But Republicans viewed that money as kind of what they called a bailout for states that hadn't managed their finances very well. And it was a huge point of contention in the last piece of legislation.
Biden is also calling for a $15 an hour federal minimum wage, as well as billions to be spent on helping renters pay their landlords. He also wants to temporarily increase the size of 2 tax credits to help provide more cash to low-income workers and families. The $1.9 trillion rescue plan is the first part of a 2-part initiative, the second of which Biden wants to introduce in February. That plan will include investments in infrastructure, manufacturing, and clean energy to bolster the economy in the long term. Biden is calling on Congress to pass the first round of relief soon after he takes office on January 20th.
Biden has said, again and again that he wants this bill to be bipartisan, that he wants Democrats and Republicans to get on board so they can pass it kind of as a show of unity in the federal government. And the price tag of the bill alone kind of makes you think maybe he won't be able to do it. At almost $2 trillion, this new bill is quadruple what a lot of Republicans were willing to spend last year. And so, it's reasonable to expect a lot of resistance in the GOP to spending that much money. Biden has another option, which is to push the bill through a special process in Congress called budget reconciliation. And if he did that, he would only need a simple majority, which is 50 votes. That means he would need every single Democrat on board. And if he lost a single one, he'd have to go to the other side of the aisle and get a Republican vote to make up for it. So that's tricky too. And both of those things mean that, whatever legislation Congress ends up drafting or passing could very well look pretty different from what Biden introduced tonight.